Hello and welcome to Futbol Fridays here on Hornet Radio. I am Ryan Osborne, joined by Joseph Pavlenko, Ari Nakshon, and Mark Pavlovich here on the air with you. Guys, as we get set for this matchup, it's Fullerton College and IVC on this edition of Futbol Fridays. We start things off. Joe, you take a look at Fullerton College. They are having a successful season, maybe not where they'd like to be to start, but going into the rest of conference play, they're set up nice at the moment.
They are, and the OEC, a historically tough conference to be in, so kind of what we would expect to see. Fullerton College playing the game that they normally seem to play, high pace, frenetic offense, able to turn an attack from their opponent on a dime and then try to shove that ball down their throats and into the back of the goal.
We switch it over to Ari. Ari, you look at Fullerton College scoring-wise. They have a balanced attack, especially their top two guys who are currently tied in points.
Yeah, we have Thomas Gomez, who's been coming off the bench. He has been scoring very well, only starting 2 games and having 3 goals. Then you have Max Ron, who has started all 10 games and also has 3 goals. That's 6 of their goals for this season. The rest of the team, though, only 2 or 1 goal, so it's been very balanced. Everyone has been getting a chance to shoot and score.
So the balanced attack is there. As you mentioned, Joe, the OEC is always a tough place to play in. Both these two teams played to a draw last season here at Hal Scherbeck Field, but we bring in the guy who is the voice of Cyprus and also Saddleback, Mark Pavlovich. Mark, you listened to what both Ari and Joe said. You were talking with the coaches earlier. They have some thoughts on this attack.
Well, yeah, first of all, Fullerton is 3-0-1 and at the top of the OEC, so fans are happy about that outcome. Greg and Kenny, I'm not sure they're really happy with the way team is playing. The team is playing very, very fast. When you watch them go down the field, they're very sporadic. They'll take a ball deep and hope somebody runs underneath it. I asked both of them about that and said, what am I seeing? Because I think they're just playing at too fast of a pace. Both coaches said this is what happens at the beginning of the year, and then we start to slow them down, and they may play at a different rhythm. One of the guys that's playing at the different rhythm, Ryan Osborne, Hayden Kenny. Talked to his dad. Hayden's having a great season this season, and I tell you what, you heard what Greg called him as he put it in another sports term when he was on the soccer field.
Yeah, the biggest thing that he said, if you're going to watch Hayden Kenny this season, and especially coming up in the rest of conference play, you have to watch him like a volleyball setter. You're going to see him face away from the goal. He is going to start off the attack by getting the ball, receiving it, controlling it, and then moving to his left or right, depending on what he feels is best for the attack. So you're going to see him go on that dispersal, but he will face away from the goal and be that commander that they need on the field. Joe, I bring it over to you. You saw Hayden Kenny last year. He was part of that two-headed attack. But it's a more balanced team this year, and Kenny just getting back into the swing of things.
Definitely, and you saying that commander mentality that Hayden Kenny needs. Last week on Futbol Friday, we saw a step over, cross through the box on the opponent's side of the field in extra minutes. Hayden Kenny stepped over that ball, let one of his teammates take the shot, and that took him up 2-1 and gave them the win on that game.
And you mentioned that they're still close to that road to 100 that they're looking for. Of course, this coaching staff very close to 100 wins as a total staff. Bring it over to Ari. Ari, when you look at Irvine Valley College, overall this season, they haven't attacked 2 guys specifically at the top of things in terms of points, but lately things haven't been going their way.
Yeah, when it comes to that attack, you have Luke Newman, 4 goals, 5 assists. He's contributed a lot to that offensive side. And Marcio Costa, who also has 4 goals. But when it comes to the defense, they are conceding a lot of goals and have lost 4 of their last 5. So if they want to see a different result today, they're going to have to really not concede anything.
Mark, I bring it back over to you. When you look at Irvine Valley College, obviously you having called 2 other teams in the Orange Empire Conference, this is an IVC team that very plainly needs to get a win in their next 2 matchups to keep pace in the OEC.
Well, and the thing that you've got to realize about Irvine Valley, as tough and as good as they were last year, they transferred 11 sophomores. So when you talk to the staff at Irvine Valley, they're a young soccer team that are learning every week, and like we heard from the head coach, they make silly mistakes. The one thing they do, which is a real positive for Irvine Valley, is they don't mope about the silly mistakes. And so they're looking on getting a victory tonight against your Fullerton College Hornets here on Futbol Friday on Hornet Radio.
Now I bring it over to Joe and Ari real quick, guys. Everyone talks about the player to watch in this matchup, but let's move to an X factor, determined as the person who you wouldn't normally look at as the main star of the game, but will affect the way that the game ends up being played or the result takes place. Ari, I'll start with you. Who's your X factor to look for tonight on either side?
Well, when it comes to that attack, we obviously have many different players who will be a big threat for Fullerton, and you'll have all of your normal guys who are really good at attacking. Obviously, you have Max Ron, who normally doesn't start at an attacking position, but he's scoring a lot. So always to keep an eye out for him, especially crashing the box and getting all those second chances. That will be a huge deal for Fullerton, especially in the build-up of their attack.
I switch it over to you, Joe.
I'm going to go with, let's say, Nathan Giles on defense. He's somebody that we've seen step up. He's able to clear the ball and mobile for a defender. Moves upfield, helps with the attack sometimes, and locks it down on defense when he needs to.
Yeah, and you mentioned Giles. I mean, you and I got to talk to him a little bit earlier this season. You'll see him on that right wing. Kyle Sherman takes the left wing. We're going to step aside for the national anthem. When we come back, starting lineups in the beginning of Futbol Fridays between Fullerton and Irvine Valley. You're watching Futbol Fridays on Hornet Radio. And we welcome you back to Futbol Fridays here on Hornet Radio. Ryan Osborne, Joseph Pavlenko, Mark Pavlovich on the call here. Sideline reporter, you just heard from him. It is Ari Nakshon. So we get set for the starting lineups for these two teams. We will begin things with the opposing Irvine Valley College Lasers. Irvine Valley College, of course, enters this one trying to get away from their 2-7-1 record. They currently have an 0-3-1 away from home record, and you take a look at that starting lineup. It starts off with Josh Simonton in addition to Isaiah Pons and Marcio Costa. Armin Hagiga joined by Mason Tracy and Luke Newman. Logan Coffin and Yaya Al-Sadiq will also be joining them. The final three in the lineup, Moises Delgado, Porter Beninoff, and Carter Cooper. That's the starting 11 on the other side for Irvine Valley College. We switch things over to the home Fullerton College Hornets, and it's a lineup that is mostly familiar but has a couple of changes. You look at Fullerton College, you start with Evan Yole. He'll be the center back. He had a lot of playing time last year, got some starts as well. He'll be joined by Oliver Torres Martinez. That'll be the change in this lineup, along with Kyle Sherman on the left side, Julio Toaza as part of that back four. Thomas Gomez, who leads the team in points to this point in the season with 3 goals and no assists. Hayden Kenny joining them, Max Ron, Jacob Ponce, and Andrew Areola. That is the starting 11 for the home Fullerton College Hornets. Mark, we get set for this matchup. You take a look at this Fullerton attack. You already mentioned what the coaching staff has to look forward to. But if Fullerton College wants to be able to get a win today in conference play, they need to do what?
Well, they need to be rhythmic. They need to set each other up quickly. I mean, Joe and I saw, a great goal to win it last week. But again, Joe, the set plays aren't working out here. It's that one that all of a sudden you go, it comes out of nowhere, and they win. Again, I'm going to take my favorite players. I'm going to take the coaching staff as being the most valuable person on the field, and whoever's got the clean sheet at the end of the night, say, watch me go out on a limb on this one. Who's got the clean sheet is going to win the game.
Yeah, especially on the OEC. It's a very competitive conference, like all of us have mentioned all of last year, all of this year. And so clean sheets, it's just more distance to separate yourself from everybody else in the conference.
So as we get set for this one, right to left will go Fullerton College. Left to right goes Irvine Valley. And the goalkeeper, I didn't mention him earlier, but it is Steven Martinez. And he will get the start here today. He ends up splitting most of the time with Ryan Marino Rojas, who got the start on Tuesday afternoon. So we are underway, and Fullerton College will take possession to start. As we mentioned, they will be attacking going from your right on your screen to your left. On the other side for Irvine Valley, they will be attacking from your left, going to your right. Fullerton College will bring it back as they get set to move up the park. They're going to switch over towards the right to Julio Doaza. Doaza is going to look for a teammate. He finds someone in Jacob Bonts. Bonts, little look over towards Marquez. Kyle Sherman coming over to watch just for a moment. Oliver Torres Martinez on that right side, and he will switch it back over to Bonts. Bonts with Areola. Areola getting a majority of the starts on that back line. Left center back is mainly what he has been playing. Switch to the middle of the park and intercepted as Irvine tries to take it away. Gets deflected from two. Little miscommunication for a moment, and Martinez is going to take over as he slides over to it. And he will take possession.
And Ryan, you're already seeing that more predictable, rhythmic play to start this game off against IVC.
Yeah, and you look at Fullerton College, Mark, what we saw from them last year, and it's what Joe mentioned. This one's punched up into the air, still floating, gets away from two. Fullerton scoots it away. Here's a chance. Sherman, this is going to be offsides. As picking up to it will be Thomas Gomez. It will not matter as it is an offsides play against Fullerton. So just a step off as Sherman saw the open guy on the right-hand side, but just wasn't able to get it over to him in time. But like you were talking about, Mark, you look at Fullerton last year, and this is something that Joe mentioned a lot last year too. Fullerton's offense was very centric on getting the ball and booting it as far as you can and let your athletes get up to the ball and win one-on-one races. It's not the case that they want to go to throughout the rest of the season so far. And something, Joe, that you've talked about before, and especially as you got to see last week, this is a team in Fullerton that can change how they offensively attack.
Yeah, it can. And speaking of changes, last week I don't think we had hardly any offside calls, and to see one within the first 4 minutes of the game today, not a bad start to the game, but it shows that they're hungry, they want to find the back of the net, and they just made some unfortunate decisions or some unfortunate timing in the passes.
It is funny you mentioned that, Joe, because a lot of people take a look at offsides and they immediately write it off as this one's floated back post, just pumped up into the air, back towards the middle towards Giles. It's still up for grabs, pinballs around, and finally Giles gets boxed out and it kicks away as getting up to it will be Mason Tracy. Tracy gets dispossessed, center down the middle. Here's a chance off the head of the awaiting opportunity by Josias Palacios. A little lineup changes Fullerton College gave from the starting 11 that they initially announced were going to be in, but Josias Palacios getting a header opportunity. The save is made there by Martinez, and he has his first, or excuse me, I take that back. The save was made by Josh Simonton. But you look at the offsides to finish off that statement as this is a throw-in for Fullerton College. Too many people, Mark, look at an offsides and they say, oh, it's a bad thing. Yes, in terms of stopping play and turning over possession, it is a bad thing. But it also shows, if you haven't gotten in offsides in quite a while, that you can become complacent on offense and not as aggressive as Joe was talking about. So if you get a couple of offsides, it means you're starting to push up the park a little bit more.
Speaking of foot races, Kyle Sherman.
Sherman is that speedy wingback that we mentioned. Here's Palacios trying to scoot it over towards the right, deflects off of two, and having to get to it is Simonton.
Yeah, Ryan, just to react to what you said, I have no problems with offsides. I mean, you've got to force the defense, and you force them to play against you when you do get that offside. And that's where you can get that false offside, too. Defense comes up, tries to get you on a false offsides. You step up even with that offensive player, and it's a running race. Now you've got a chance to beat them. So I like the fact that the offsides happens.
Ball changes possession twice, and Fullerton College is going to take it over. Kyle Sherman on the left-hand side.
Okay, can I ask you and Joe a question? When is somebody going to start doing legal throw-ins? Drives me nuts. Ball's supposed to go over the top of your head and then thrown in, not off the side of a shoulder.
Yes. Mark, to answer your question, I mean, yes, it is supposed to go off the top of your head, but if you get the opportunity to get the side of your shoulder, they're not going to call you on it. Too often you do see a lot of people who say, hey, how come that isn't called down? How come that isn't a handball or at least a stoppage in play? But if you do get it to your shoulder in a natural position, you are allowed to use your shoulder to brace for impact. Here's Josias Palacios. Palacios trying to get to the ball. He keeps possession with both of his knees, moves it over towards Sherman. Sherman left-hand side. He finds someone in stride. He'll find Bones. Bones looking back for Sherman, and that gets cleared away. So the back line for Irvine Valley College has had to be very active in the early going. Fullerton College more than content to go on the attack.
Yeah, and Ryan, we were expecting to see Hayden Kenny on the starting 11. It looks like Josias Palacios maybe ended up getting started instead of him on this game.
And Palacios actually got the first shot of the game for Fullerton as well, as this one's booted over towards Bones, and he will just end up missing it as Simonton will take it over. They're actually going to call a foul against Fullerton, I believe. And that is indeed the case, as Simonton initially thought, hey, I can just move the ball over towards my left and get things going, but instead, referee says, no, we're going to bring you back forward. So IVC gets their opportunity here. They haven't necessarily had a chance to attack yet. This one's intercepted, taken away by Doaza. Doaza sees this one cleared off of Carter Cooper, and it will go back for a throw-in for Irvine Valley College. Irvine Valley, as we mentioned, 2-7-1 overall record, a 0-2-1 OEC conference, or I should say OEC play record. You know, Mark, OEC conference is just redundant. Don't want that, as this is a breakaway. 1-on-2 opportunity for Irvine Valley. Trying to move to his right is going to be Newman. Newman looking for a chance. Can't get it over to a teammate. Dribbling through two. Finally does get it away, and Fullerton College intercepts. Ball taken away by Bones. He tries to shot. That one goes wide. Mason Tracy with the opportunity there. And finally, Fullerton College does take possession for a moment. Two cleats collide, and it's taken back by the Lasers. Lasers far side of the park trying to set things up. A little bit more pace here in the last 2 to 3 minutes from IVC, as their back line has had to do most of the work in the first 5. All the way back, it rolls to Logan Coffin. Coffin trying to scoot it over to Ponce. He does so successfully, and it goes right back to Coffin. Coffin looking on. Just goes wide. Initially, not getting over to it was going to be Ponce. Ponce gets that one taken away. A slide tackle is there by Yole. And Joe, he had to be aware there. Yole, seeing that his teammate got beat, he comes over and is able to be that secondary.
That was excellent reading of the field by Evan Yole right there. A great slide tackle, and while you'd rather retain possession of the ball in that situation, you just need to get out of the way.
I think the things that we want to watch today in this game is how far up do the defenders for Fullerton come on the attack. Normally they go across midfield. Let's see if they do that tonight.
Fullerton having to defend the corner. Gets away from two. Opportunity off to the right. It goes to Newman. Newman looking for someone. He's going to scoot over towards his right. Crosses it down the middle. It's a liner clanging away from two. Still inside. And finally booted up and away. Picked up by Palacios. Palacios just trying to waste a little bit of time in getting to the sideline so his teammates have a chance to move up with him. Through ball is there for Sherman, and Sherman's going to have to watch that one go too far. So you like the attempt there, and it's like you said, they're trying to get aggressive and get that pass up there, but instead of a punch-up, it's more of a through.
I would have liked that attempt a little bit more, Ryan, if it felt like it was intended to catch up to the forward, not for the forward to catch up to the ball.
There is a difference there, Joe. It's interesting you phrase it like that, too, because a lot of times people will look at it as this one's taken away from Newman, and Fullerton's defensive four is going to have to come back and pick it up. But a lot of times people look at a ball and say, okay, it's just a ball into space like this, where you're just kicking it up there, clearing it, and hoping that someone gets to it. There's intention or there's a clear. There are two differences when you're trying to get the ball up. In this case right here, it wasn't trying to get it through into space. You're just trying to get it away. Initially, Sherman was looking for that pass into open space on that right side, but he doesn't get that one to go because the intention was initially a clear. This one is punched up into the air just towards the top of the box and gets moved around from 2. IVC initially unhappy because they thought that there was interference with the goalkeeper. Simonton is going to bring it down. Ari Nakshon is our sideline reporter here tonight as he rejoins us on the broadcast. And Ari, you take a look at what's going on the sideline in early goings, as this one is brought all the way back to Simonton. In the early goings, it's been back and forth.
Yeah, from Fullerton, we saw a lot of chirping, especially from one of their bigger team leaders. That would be Kyle Sherman. We saw him being very communicative with his teammates. We saw one of the other big leaders who currently has the ball, Max Ron. He got burnt a couple of times, and I heard from the coaches that they saw that he looked like he was overextending himself and putting a little too much on the offense and not able to get back on the defense. So definitely a little bit of a change will need to be made later in the game.
Just there, Nathan Giles tried to scoot this one over towards the left to Thomas Gomez, who's looking for his 4th goal of the season. That one ends up going wide. You mentioned that, Ari. You look at Max Ron, he is a leader on this team, and it's someone that Joe mentioned at the start of the broadcast as well. Max Ron is the type of guy who will get you set-piece goals. He's got 3 goals to his credit so far this season as Sherman takes over, and he'll earn a throw-in for Fullerton. But you look at Max, he's also very active. So when you mention something's going to change for Fullerton in terms of activity for Max Ron, that's what you're going to look forward to. Getting him activated in the open attack, making sure that those defensive responsibilities are still taken care of. So again, thank you, Ari, as we get set to bring it back into live play. Ball gets away from 2, and it will end up being a goal kick coming up for IVC. You're going to hear more from Ari throughout the entirety of the night, as he will be on the sidelines for Fullerton College and Hornet Radio throughout the rest of this one. Ball over towards our left as we currently enter what, if my math is correct, the 11.5 minute. 11, 12 minute? One of those two?
11 and a half, I think that's right.
We'll take that. See, Mark? I can count sometimes.
Yeah, well, you're close, so that's good. I mean, you know, there's no grade being given here, so we're fine.
Over towards the left, lots of contact there. Newman is taken down. He's going to get fouled there by Pons. So it will be a, well, we won't say a set piece, not quite close enough for that, but it will be a free kick coming up for IVC. Again, they are attacking from left to right. IVC in the all-white uniforms, though it's really tough to tell. They do have silhouetted striping, pinstriping on their uniforms if you get close up to them. They are in the all-whites, and their numerals in navy blue. Fullerton College in the home navy blues that we are used to, as this one's up into the air, kind of spinning over, trying to float that one towards the far post is Moises Delgado, and he sends that one out for a goal kick. But Fullerton's uniforms in the home navy blues that we are used to on Futbol Fridays, and their numerals in white with no outline.
Is it just me, Ryan, or is this feeling a little bit like a kickball match tonight? And do you think it's feeling like a kickball match because both teams are playing so aggressive? The intent is clearing the ball and getting the ball out of danger.
I think there's a little bit of that. You'll see in OEC play where teams are more content to clear the ball, dump it away from danger, get it out of your own third. And Mark can attest to this. When you look at OEC play, what you'll usually find is you're not going to get a run-and-gun style. You're going to get things broken up, and then maybe if you have the correct chances, teams will run. But for the most part, it's all chopped up because they're trying to keep that defensive responsibility.
I want to go back to a couple moments ago. Sorry, Mark.
Oh, that's okay.
Julio Toza doing his best impersonation of a flying squirrel, flying through the air to get that ball to keep it in the attacking third for Fullerton College.
Yeah, Toza almost getting that one, and you mentioned that the deflection goes just off to the right, and IVC had to adjust to it quickly. But, Mark, I'll pop it back over towards your side. You look at OEC play. Is this very typical of what you've seen so far this year?
Yeah, you really do, and I mean, this comes down to how tired everybody gets. Fullerton is known as a run soccer team. And then Irvine Valley, when you saw them come out, they ran a 4-1-1-4 formation. That doesn't matter now, but that's what they ran. I think the biggest thing here is you've got to settle down, and, you know, we're almost into the first 20 minutes of this half. Eventually, you've got to settle down and start playing solid offense looking for people close by, not all the way downfield.
And we'll say this, so far, the connectivity, the passability of both these two teams offensively just hasn't been there. So you haven't seen that cohesiveness that we're used to.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I don't feel like there's been any real threat in this game by either team.
Yeah, I'd like to see maybe more clearances with intent, not just clearances into the void to give you, I understand you need time to reset, time to recover, but I'd like to see some clearances with intent, some level of accuracy, so that way the attack can continue beyond that long ball further down the field.
Marcio Costa almost had a chance there, got taken away. Down the middle, Fullerton tries to off-foot this one over towards Thomas Gomez. Gomez getting the start, and what Joe and I talked about earlier in RE2 is that he had only had 2 starts prior to this matchup, but the way that he has played recently has really earned him a lot more time. This one is headed off of 2. It now lands to Palacios. Palacios booted over in towards the corner to Nathan Giles. Giles trying to scoot towards his right foot, scooped away on the slide. Fullerton College will earn their first corner of this matchup. So a quick counter there by Fullerton gets them a corner and a set piece, which usually means that Max Ron is going to take it for Fullerton, and that's exactly who is running over to it at the moment.
Watch for the back part of the net with him because he likes to drive the ball deep. So if you're a Hornet, even though everybody's where they are right now, you'll watch the back side of the net to see if that's where the play gets set.
I don't care where he sends it as long as it's accurate.
And you know what? That's kind of mirrored by a lot of community college coaches. Mark and I talked to Greg Aviles earlier this season about set pieces and corner pieces. And we asked him, how do you determine when someone is going to be that specialist for you? And he said, it's all about consistency. Yes, someone can place it well and curve it well, but if they can't consistently do that, it doesn't really do them any good. Little front footer that goes towards the far side of the box, taken away by IVC. Fullerton's set piece doesn't end up working, and this one is cleared towards the right. Little more intention there for IVC. They find Newman. Newman working against Sherman. Sherman has to get over towards the sideline, and he catches up. Back towards midfield. Irvine Valley trying to get a turn. They end up moving it right to the foot of Isaiah Pons, and Pons will find Newman. Newman floats it away from Armin Hagiga. Here's Hagiga. Right-hand side, he's looking for Costa. Costa right down the middle, and that one gets deflected away. Second corner of the game for IVC, and now you're looking at it with IVC. A good counter gets open pressure and allows for them to have a quality chance here with their second corner of the match.
Was that Oliver Martinez over there with the field presence, just taking it, eating that with his body and sending it out of bounds?
And he did indeed get over to that. And it's like you said earlier, Joe, when Yol was the one who came over with the support. In this case, it's Torres Martinez who is able to get to that in time and find a way to scoot that, we'll say, away from danger momentarily. Another corner coming up for Irvine Valley. That's their third.
Well, that's what you want to see in that situation. You have 2 decisions, right? You have to stop the play, and if you can get your body in the way and deflect it out of bounds, that's preferred. The other way is, fortunately, commit a foul sometimes. That stops the play, but when you're that deep back on your own side of the field, that could lead to a free kick, whether it's direct, indirect, or worst of all, a penalty.
Yeah, and especially, like you said, inside the box, you end up trying to go and trying to eat that ball. Well, the way that you end up getting the penalties, you try and eat it, but your arms come out into an unnatural position, and you start to get punished for it. This would be offsides if anyone touched it from Irvine Valley. No one does, and Steven Martinez will not only take it over, but he will boot it sky high into the Fullerton air. Palacios gets it quickly. Palacios wants to toss it into open space. He's got a guy, Thomas Gomez, trying to run up to it quick. Kenny Castellanos getting himself involved in this one as he tried to get that throw in to work fast.
Yeah, it looked like Kenny was going to throw it himself just for a second.
Yeah, that's generous, you saying he has a guy there. It just felt like he threw it into open space. It seems like something that Fullerton keeps doing. And again, I'd like to see more intent on those long balls so that way something can happen once the ball is sent downfield.
Ball in the middle, still clanging around. Fullerton couldn't get to it in time as that one's going to check away from Torres Martinez. Max Ron gets dispossessed. It's a 3-on-3 if Irvine Valley can hurry. Newman scooting over towards the middle. He's going to try and find a run. It gets intercepted and taken away. Fullerton College, the play is made by Julio Toaza, and now it's cleared up. Offsides, Thomas Gomez.
Kyle Sherman playing box-to-box soccer tonight. He's up on the field. He's back on defense. He's up on the attack. He's feeding the attacks. I couldn't do it.
You know what? Neither could I. But it's something you actually talked about earlier this season. Fullerton College had a lot of activity from their back line last year. Not their center backs per se, because they were the stalwarts. But you look at those guys on either end of those back four, and they were very active in moving the offense forward. Max Ron is that type of person, but Kyle Sherman has done excellent so far this season, not only spacing things out for Fullerton in the offensive side of the game, but it's like you said, he comes all the way back. He has the speed and endurance to be able to come back and cover when he needs to. So that's that guy that Fullerton can rely on, as you said, 1 box to 1 box. Under 25 to play in the first half. No score between Fullerton College and IVC. Ryan Osborne, Joseph Pavlenko, joined by Mark Pavlovich and Ari Nakshon as our sideline guy here tonight. Big thank you to Becky and Sam for helping us run the cameras and get everything up A-OK as well.
Corey Nalen of the 145 Sports Broadcasting class here at Fullerton College. Thank you as well, wherever you are.
Omnipresent currently. Ball gets kicked out, far side. It's a throw-in coming up for the Lasers. 23:50 showing on the clock. Athletic trainers for Fullerton College near side of the field. Some of the best, not only in the state of California, but in the entire nation. If you ever get a chance to talk to an athletic trainer about what they do in making sure that these student athletes have the opportunity to play at the best of their ability, it is not only just an interesting talk because we know these athletic trainers, but it truly is a brand new way to look at athletics, to look at sports overall. When you talk to an athletic trainer, you understand how these student athletes are able to go out there and perform at the best of their ability thanks to their help. Substitutions coming in for Fullerton College, as taking a seat for Fullerton will be Thomas Gomez and Oliver Torres Martinez. Also taking a seat is Josias Palacios. Entering for them is Omar Ruiz. He will also be joined by Max Jankovic, and they will also end up seeing Pedro Delgado join them as well. So Jankovic joins in. Here's Delgado trying to get over to it as we welcome back Ari Nakshon. Ari, you take a look at the sideline and what has been, well, pretty plainly an uneventful first half in terms of overall chances.
Yeah, when it comes to the attacking side, we've seen both teams create a little, but the press from both defenses has been incredibly high. We've seen even the attackers on both sides press without the ball, and it looks like everyone has a role even when they are not with the ball. So you'll see the striker, he'll be pressing, he won't look lost at the front and just be an extra body on the field. So it's a bit more of a competitive match, and we're getting to see a little bit more out of everyone on the field.
Ruiz chasing after that one, and it's like you said, that shape that not only Greg Aviles likes to make sure is out there, but also Kenny Castellanos, very active in making sure that the shape of their offense and that press continues to work. Is there anything on the sideline that they have been pressing for their frontline attack to be able to go into?
Well, it looked like they wanted their wingers to stay wide and to stay ready. Anytime that someone had the ball that could possibly get them a pass, they wanted them to be ready so that they could be up in case they can beat a defender and be open for an easy goal or an easy pass that could lead to a goal. But we haven't seen them make enough separation. We also saw Max Ron switch sides after a corner kick, after he had some struggles when it came to that defensive side. So we're going to see a little bit of a different tactical change for Fullerton.
So as we take a look at what's going on the field just a few moments ago, Kyle Sherman with a shot that ends up getting blocked. We want to thank Ari Nakshon for joining us as our sideline guy. You'll hear more from him throughout the remainder of this first half, and you'll also hear from him at halftime, as we will have the coach show playing for you with this team, this program, and this staff chasing 100 wins as a staff since joining Fullerton College. So thank you, Ari. We appreciate it as Fullerton College brings it up the park. They're going to try and swing it over towards this left-hand side, a three-person attack that gets subbed in for Fullerton Joe. and they have got to find a different way to manufacture offense. As this one gets floated over towards Giles. Giles is going to pick it up just outside the box. He gets double teamed, turns it over, and it gets away from an IVC player who will scoot it all the way over and into the field house.
Ryan, I tell you, the thing that's been interesting, you watch the defenders. They've been hanging back. You guys have been here for enough games that you watch the defenders normally over midfield. They've been staying back because so far IVC has somewhat of a counterattack and has had opportunities to attack offensively. So a little different look from this Hornet offense.
Yeah, and you look at Fullerton College setting things up. They've got Ron on that far side. Raises his arm, puts it up into the air, high floater, sidewinds its way away from two. It'll land all the way back towards the near side of the field where it is cleared out by the Lasers. And all the way into Fullerton's bench where it is a toss-in for IVC. Now, you mentioned that, Mark, Fullerton College, the way that their offense has played, when you look at this Hornet, not just attack, but their midfield, it seems like everyone is trying to get themselves up into the attacking third, but they're just not connecting on the passes that they need to.
Yeah, Joe's talked about it just being passes from end to end so far in this game with nobody there.
Here's a chance right down the middle, off the foot of Ruiz, and it's poked in, offsides. Oh, so close for Fullerton College. However, is it a corner kick? And that is what is going to be ruled. So, two different things happen there. Specifically, the ball goes into the middle where Ruiz has it go off the outside of his foot. It hit what looked like the goal line, but what actually happened is it touches the goalkeeper's hand, hits the crossbar of the football field goal post, and then pops back out, followed by the poke in for Fullerton College. So the offsides doesn't matter since it was already a corner kick for Fullerton because that ball would have gone out of play. Taken away into the air. Here's a chance. The header goes up. Offsides Fullerton College.
Fullerton College seems intent to try to score via air.
And they have had their opportunities. I mean, you mentioned that, Joe. You had Thomas Gomez earlier in this first half who missed it wide. Then you also had Josias Palacios who had a chance too. And then here you get that opportunity off the head of, it looked like Giovanni Sanchez. Or excuse me, not Giovanni Sanchez. Pedro Delgado. But it just ends up going awry. Ball sideswiped down towards the right. Evan Yole running up to it. He's going to let that one go. And for Steven Martinez, he kind of looks at it and says, hey, man, you're trying to make me do a little extra cardio here because that ball was going well out. And the only other ball is all the way by the scoreboard. So Martinez will run all the way over to it. He picks up a ball and he'll place it down. But a goal kick coming up for Fullerton College with under 17.5 to play in this first 45. No score, Fullerton and IVC. High backspun floater goes over towards Ruiz. Ruiz fighting for it with two. He's going to end up going on a one-on-one with Logan Coffin. Coffin collides with him, and it goes out of play. They stop things for just a moment to check on Ruiz. As that ball goes out, a Fullerton throw-in coming up, and it looks like Fullerton's going to have a substitution entering in just a moment as David Garcia gets set.
Yeah, and guys, I was going to say a fast-moving first half. There's been no real stoppage time or anything else for any reason. But do either one of you, Joe, Ryan, do you think there's any cohesiveness out here right now for either team?
Let me put it this way, Mark.
Kickball.
Yes, absolutely, because that is what it feels like. It feels like they're playing ping pong with the ball at this point. They're sending it back and forth. But, Mark, you know where you have a recipe and it asks you to temper an egg?
Yeah.
You don't end up getting the egg whisked quick enough, so it starts to curdle just a little bit because you don't have that consistency you want.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this feel is like at the moment.
So, in other words, like the Dodgers-Padre game?
Oh,
sort of curdling in front of your eyes?
It's going okay at the moment.
Okay.
Kyle Sherman is going to check out, and he will also be joined by Ponce and Nathan Giles. Coming in for Fullerton is going to be David Garcia. They'll also be joined by Cisco Torres, and joining them as the final of the trio is Brandon Acevedo. See, always a food reference. We will always find a way.
That's true.
Under 15:40 to play in this first half. Neither Fullerton or Irvine Valley able to get themselves on the board. Fullerton has had 4 quality chances, but they have not been able to do anything with it. And as Joe mentioned earlier, Hayden Kenny not in the starting lineup as we initially thought he would be. And Kenny watching on from the sidelines for the moment being. IVC gets away from 2. Here's Martinez. He has to get to it in time. No offsides flag, but what is the official ruling? That is the question. He's going to say there is a foul about 20 yards outside the box.
Marks it at the, what do we want to say, that 31-yard line?
That sounds about right. And of course, as you see, the 31-yard line here at Fullerton College's Hal Scherbeck Field. If you are unfamiliar with Fullerton College and Hal Scherbeck Field, it is a multi-purpose field that was opened last year. As this one is bunched up, gets away from 2. A shot is taken. That gets blocked. Opportunity for Isaiah Ponce, and he can't get that one to go. Fullerton on the counterattack. They're trying to move it up quickly. Ball over towards the left. It goes on to the waiting foot of Pedro Delgado. He tries to beat 2, gets away from 3, and he gets dispossessed as he tries to lay it over to Cisco Torres. Torres sees that one go out, and a quick throw in for Fullerton College. Coach Castellanos says, hey, guys, we got to work quickly. I have an idea of where I want this to go. Omar Ruiz can't get that one. Floats over top of him, and it will end up going to IVC.
It's about 31 minutes of play gone, Ryan. I think we're going to start seeing the pace of the game probably picking up as somebody hoping they can find the back of the net before the halftime whistle.
And if Fullerton College, like you're saying, Joe, if they don't want to concede in this one, what they do have to pay attention to is this back line. Yes, they are able to get that trap going constantly as they play ping pong between either goalkeeper. But yes, they are able to get that back line trap to work, but they are starting to not necessarily pick up that extra guy who comes in on a run as the ball gets floated away. So just a few moments ago, had that ball not gotten over to Martinez, it would have been an opportunity for IVC as they were, in fact, onside. So Fullerton's got to be able to watch for that extra guy as this one is just cleared enough, and it will get over to the waiting foot of Cisco Torres. Torres looks at the check down. Little punch over that floats up into the air. Finally lands towards Delgado. Delgado has that one go off his back heel, and it's taken away.
That looked dangerously close to offsides with me. Delgado's got to be a little bit more aware of where that last defender is and where his positioning is on the field with runs like that.
Ruiz off to the right. You'll see this one go all the way to the touchline, and it goes off of a Fullerton midfielder and out. So IVC gets a chance to reset. They're going to have a substitution come in at next available chance, and we will get word on who that is in just a moment. And guys, what I also want to remember in the future for Futbol Fridays, binoculars. Just so that way we can see who exactly is coming in at the appropriate times.
Oh, I thought you were looking down here to see if you could see Becky and I. I know we're a long way away from you guys.
You guys are manning the camera perfectly fine. I have the utmost trust in our 2 camera people today.
I like binoculars.
Armin Hagiga is going to check out. And a whole attacking trio comes in for IVC. We'll have word on that in a moment.
If you can request binoculars, can I request a pirate-style periscope?
We'll give Mark a monocle.
There we go. R.
Ball to the right-hand side. Coming in for IVC in that last change was Jerome Legate. And for Legate, he is going to send this one over to his left. Logan Coffin wants the takeover. He ends up finding someone nearly turned over. Dangerous pass there by Simonton, but he is able to get it away. Simonton does have one save in this one. As the ball goes and gets away for a moment, it ends up being a throw-in for Fullerton College.
We can hear Kenny up here in the booth trying to make some adjustments, telling his guys to get after it.
And anyone who ends up watching halftime with the coaches show, you will end up seeing Greg Aviles talk about his coaching staff and Kenny Castellanos as well. Kenny is that person that if you talk to any of the alumni for Fullerton College, the biggest thing that they focus on all the time with Kenny is they say he is a tactician at heart, and there's always something brand new that you can learn from him. It does not matter when and where you are on the on the pitch, he will always have something that you can learn each and every day that will be different than a lesson that you learned before. He is a person who is always going to be watching football. He's always going to be watching soccer, always going to be trying to implement different aspects of different styles to ways that he can teach his student athletes. So Kenny Castellanos, as Joe mentioned, being that tactician and making sure that everyone on the pitch is able to understand what's going on. Near side, IVC tried to throw it in from the white sideline, which is actually the end of the coach's box for football. Not football, but football here at House Scherbeck Field. No foul there as Irvine Valley is going to take over. They played the advantage for just a moment, and IVC is going to take it away, and a little gamesmanship there as the ball gets away for a moment. We bring back Ari Nakshon, and Ari, what's going on the sideline?
Well, it's been pretty quiet, but we did see a couple of substitutions, especially after some hard tackles, and there was a little bit of a tactical change from Fullerton. We saw as they subbed in a couple new midfielders to get some fresh legs out, to drop back a little. Instead of keeping the balance that they've been keeping all game, to play a little deeper and stay back instead of attacking with the rest of the team.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, and Mark, I'll let you kind of take over on that tactical change. But you look at it in terms of how Fullerton has their style of attack so far tonight, just doesn't seem as consistent as we have seen in the past. But before we bring it over to Mark, last thing here for Ari. Ari, you take a look at this sideline. Obviously, we hear Kenny Castellanos as the tactician talking to his squad that he has directly in front of him. But has there been a lot from the bench going to the guys on the field and what they feel like they need to change?
Yeah, for sure. We saw a couple of players who were on the more quiet side on the field who weren't really communicating with their teammates, and you can hear the guys on the bench yelling at them, telling them what to do, almost kind of guiding them through the field or saying, you should pass to this guy, and you'll hear them calling each other's names, being very supportive. And so it's a kind of different style that you don't always see from most benches on other teams.
This one's taken away. Fullerton almost with a chance, not necessarily able to get the style of attack that they want going. This is going to be taken away, cleared out by 2, and it deflects all the way into the awaiting arms of Josh Simonton. So for the final 8 minutes, we will keep Ari Nakshon here upstairs, but as soon as halftime ends, he will end up taking off, talking to Greg Aviles, who we will have featured here at the half. So want to thank Ari once again, but Mark, I switch it back over to you. Something that Ari mentioned, tactical change on the field. Fullerton is asking a lot of their midfielders, yes, join the attack, but your first step should be back. That's a change from what we've seen.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the respect of Irvine Valley. We know they all get to watch each other's games, and you can look at the past and realize that there have been teams that have had opportunities to beat you and just have not capitalized. So I think the defense is becoming more and more as the season goes on. Staying at home has become important from a defensive point of view.
The gate gets that one to deflect off of a Fullerton attacker, and it will go out. Pedro Delgado trying to swing things left-hand side. Trio of guys entering for Fullerton are the guys who took off earlier. One of them being Thomas Gomez, who leads the team in points and goals. He'll be joined by Giovanni Sanchez in addition to Josias Palacios, as he gets set to re-enter in just a few moments in the final 6. We'll call it 6.5. But Mark, you mentioned that the respect that Fullerton has for Irvine Valley. In the early going, we saw Irvine Valley take over the first 5 minutes of play. Now in the last 15, they have shown that they can attack. It's just a matter of, and just like Fullerton, can they connect on their passes? All of a sudden it shows, or it forces Fullerton to have that respect for their attacking line.
Well, and here's the thing I want to ask both you and Joe. Does Fullerton normally run a 3-4-3?
So far, that's what we have seen this season.
Okay.
I know you mentioned at the top of the broadcast, Fullerton wanted to change the pace of their attack. Mark, you mentioned the 3-4-3. For people who don't necessarily know what that formation means or what benefits it has, can you give us a quick little breakdown of the 3-4-3?
Well, I find that a very balanced formation. I don't find that overly offensive or overly defensive. That's a formation where you try to keep the play towards the middle of the field, and when you get an opportunity to make a break on it, you make a break on it. So offense and defense are basically just as even when you go out there. As we now, Ryan, once again, we see something that's very traditional with Fullerton, a group of players coming in for a substitution.
So coming in is Josiah Palacios, joined by Giovanni Sanchez, in addition to Thomas Gomez and Nathan Giles. Taking a seat will be Delgado Ruiz, and they will also be joined in just a couple of moments by Jankovic and also Brandon Acevedo. So those 4 guys who entered about 10 minutes ago all get a chance to hop onto the pitch and try and change pace or change how things are going and the run of play, but things for the moment being remain the same, which allows Fullerton to get their starters back on. And with under 5 to play here in the first half, we will see what stoppage will be. So again, for those of you watching online and are more familiar with being here in person, it is the same as usual at Hal Scherbeck Field. At the 2-minute mark, the scoreboard will stop, and it will be up to the officials to determine how much time has elapsed and how much time we add to the additional. 4.5 or 20 left. You take a look at both these two squads. Have you noticed anything so far when it comes to that back line in terms of who on the coaching staff is more in charge of whether it be attack or the back line?
Well, when you look at the defense, even for both teams, we're seeing a lot of versatility and flexibility. You'll see generally 2 or 3 guys who are at the back the whole time, but then you'll see a 4th or a 5th guy drop back and help out, and it's constantly changing depending on where players are or who they're marking. And you're kind of seeing from the coach or from the assistant coach, and they'll yell and they'll tell their players who to get back and who to stay up depending on what they want for this next play.
Palacios trying to sneak a chance in there. He does get a shot away, and Irvine Valley not exactly thrilled there as they felt that Giovanni Sanchez and Palacios both had attempts at the ball after the goalkeeper and Simonton had possession of it on the floor. So the official is going to walk over, have a talking to with the back line of IVC and Simonton as well, just to make sure that everything gets away peacefully. And with 3 minutes left on the clock in the first 45 of play, both of these two teams still knotted up at 0. Fullerton College trying to improve their record in conference play, as is Irvine Valley. But Irvine Valley, we talked about it earlier, Mark, they need to get some wins together quickly so that way they have a better chance going towards the postseason.
Yeah, and when you look at the depth with teams in the OEC, you need to realize everything now that you don't win. You know, I'm even going to say it with ties, guys. This is almost that, paper cut thing with a tie. Doesn't help you in the win column, doesn't hurt you in the loss column.
Giovanni Sanchez is able to, I believe, earn a corner kick, but the center official actually overrules the side official. Fullerton College's bench is saying, hey, the official in the corner said that it was a corner kick. That was the ruling. But the center official says, no, guys, hold on. That ball crossed the end line before the corner kick could have come into play. So, clock stops, under 2 minutes to play in the first half between Fullerton College and IVC. We will see what the additional time is. It shouldn't be more than a minute, to be honest. If anything, they might just kill it right at 45, mainly because we haven't had too many stoppages in this one. It has been a quick 45 of play between both Fullerton and Irvine. Ball over towards the right. It is taken over by Martinez, and he wants to play it out of the back. Off to the sideline it goes. Fullerton trying to take over. Gets away for a second, and a quick throw in for Fullerton as they are trying to get things hurried along here.
You know something I haven't noticed Fullerton doing tonight that they've done some other Futbol Fridays we've seen out here, Mark and Ryan?
What's that?
Knock on the door from a distance. A lot of people I know don't like those types of shots. You're taking them from far out, but you never know what might find the back of the net, and it's a way to keep the opponent's keeper on their toes.
Nathan Giles off balance trying to get over towards that. You mentioned that, Joe. We have seen that in the past. We actually saw it earlier this season. If I'm not mistaken, the first match of the season that we had on Futbol Fridays, we saw multiple long shots from outside the box. One of them ends up going in. And for Fullerton College, it's not necessarily their forte per se, but it is something, like you said, that can force the respect of the other back line. They have to come up for that more, and it allows for you to open things up offensively because that back four has to come up.
Well, and the thing I think that hurts too is they're not buzzing around the net, guys, and that's what you've seen with this Hornet team all season long.
Here's Newman swinging it all the way over towards Martinez, who has to backpedal. Presumably, this should be about the final offensive chance for both these two teams in the first 45 of play. Ball goes up into the air, goes out. Fullerton will be awarded the throw-in, so it looks like they will have the chance to actually get the toss in here. No score, Fullerton College, IVC, in what is a still night in Fullerton. Not that it is still night, but it is a still night.
It's autumn, baby. It's autumn.
Not still night, Ryan.
It is. It is still night. And it will continue to be that way for the rest of the night. As this one goes over towards the far side. And taken over by Fullerton's back line. Max Ron gets over to it. He keeps it in for just a moment. Doesn't want to concede a corner kick. He does take it. And Fullerton College can play it away. Here's Yoel. Yoel looking for it. Sidewinder, left-hand side. That's going to go out. And IVC can't get to it in time. And they are, in fact, awarded a throw-in. Referee looks at his watch. He brings the whistle to his mouth as soon as this is tossed in. Never mind. It will be whistled down now. So the first 45 of play is over, and Ari Nakshon is going to take a walk down to the sideline and catch Greg Aviles. We will have some words from Greg Aviles about the first 45 of play, what his thoughts are, and what he would like to see going forward. Don't forget that coming up in a little bit, we're going to have the coaches show, as that will end up playing here at the half in just a little, as Fullerton College will end up taking that opportunity to go to halftime and make some adjustments. Joe, you look at that first half, and Mark, I'll end up bringing you in on this as well. How do Fullerton College and Irvine switch things up in the second half?
Joe, you know what I think is, Joe, I don't see anybody. Maybe it's just me, but Joe, do you feel like there's energy out there from either one of these teams right now?
I feel like, pop in a cough drop real quick. I feel like the absence of Hayden Kenny in the first half of the game is probably felt. You and I were talking about it last week. Hayden Kenny was on the pitch. We were talking about how he's great feeding two other players on the team. Ryan said today you guys spoke to the coaches. They want to use him as a setter to set up those shots, be kind of the key with assisting 2 goals and helping other players on the team find the back of the net. But Hayden Kenny himself can find the back of the net as well. So I think his absence has been felt. I also think they're not knocking on the door from a distance like they were before. And like Ryan was saying, that's how you earn the respect from the back line. They have to come up more and not just go, you're going to run it down the wing and try to do a center across to the center. You're keeping the defense on their toes. You're keeping the goalie on his toes. And you're adding a level of unpredictability to your offense. Do you always get points from those kinds of strikes? No, but it can happen, and it's how you keep people guessing.
Well, I don't think there's been a lot of real energy in midfield. And Joe, you know this. You've been around for all the games this season. We have seen a great deal of nastiness in men's soccer this year. I don't feel any of that on this field tonight. I don't see anybody getting chippy. I don't see anybody knocking anybody on the ground. I don't see anybody saying, hey, get out of my way. And that we have seen from this Hornet team. All the home games we've done, Joe, you've said it more than once. It's getting nasty out there. And I don't see a bit of nastiness on the field.
I feel like we start seeing that chippiness going into the second half. People getting tired, wanting to establish a lead, catch up. There is a tie. Tempers are going a little hot. Time's going down. People are tired. And I think you start seeing that chippiness present itself. Sometimes we've seen it at the end of the first half. I agree with you. I don't think we saw it this first half, but I'm not going to rule it out yet, Mark, because I've seen it pick up in the second half when we've been out here for Futbol Fridays.
Yeah, because we haven't seen the officials talk to anybody about the way they're playing. We haven't seen any sign of a yellow card on the field here. This has been a very polite, gentleman sort of soccer game, which, you know what, at that stage of the game, you all of a sudden understand why nobody is being aggressive on the offensive end. It's like, let's play the middle of the field, and hey, if I get a break, I'm going to beat you. That's how I feel both these teams are playing right now.
I also feel like a little bit, if you take it into comic book superhero terms, it's like a superhero playing their nemesis, who's almost a mirror picture of themselves. IVC and Fullerton College seem like two halves of the same card right now. They're both sending the ball downfield. They both want to engage in a foot race, and they both want to score off of that breakaway. So I feel like both teams are playing pretty similar to the same playbook, and maybe that's also why we're not seeing some action, because both teams understand what the other team is trying to do because they do it themselves.
Yeah, and the other thing, Joe, you always talk about a clean sheet. You got to put pressure on a goalie and make them think. If you're not, it's another day at the park if you're in that net. And you've got no worries because, you know what, the toughest thing you're going to get is a two-hopper that you catch on your chest, you flop on the ground, you get up 30 seconds later, and you kill the clock. I don't think either goalie's had to do anything in this game.
Yeah, you got to make that goalie sweat. And again, I think that's where the unpredictability factor needs to come in. You need to take those shots from outside of that normal range that you're maybe comfortable about. You never know what might bounce off the woodwork and wind in the back of the net. Maybe it misses. Maybe it ricochets off. But also, if it hits the woodwork and it bounces back to your team, I'm going to sound like Gordon Bombay and the Mighty Ducks right here. Ryan's going to appreciate this hockey reference. You got to pick up the trash when that happens, and sometimes that helps you find the back of the net as well.
Yeah, and there's been no trash on this field all night. I feel like this has been an environmental game here on Hornet Radio with Hornet Media tonight as both these teams go. And Fullerton is at that weird mark and an overall record at 3-0-1. Going 4-0-1 right now, you feel like you're in control. If they go 3-1-1 or 3-0-2, it's tough.
Well, I just got the wave from producer Sam over here, Mark. I think we're ready and queued up for the Coach's Show, so let's take you to that, and we'll be back at the second half.
Hi, I'm Ari Nakshon, here with Ryan Osborne, and this week we are at soccer, celebrating the 2018 Conference Championship on Hornet Radio. Hi, I'm Ari Nakshon, here with former player Garrett Eicherman, and we're celebrating the 2018 Conference Championship win. We're talking about the program here. How do you think it's impacted your playing career as a player here who was here last year?
This program is a phenomenal program, going from the coaches to the players, athletic training, strength and conditioning coaches. Everyone is super willing to help, especially the coaches. I mean, being a player last year and having to redshirt this year due to some ineligibility issues, the coaches have done so much for me and gotten me to where I am today and my future as a player as well. So I think it's an amazing program.
So a little bit bigger than soccer, they're helping you with the other aspects, trying to get into that school that you're trying to go to. How do you think that has affected you even as a player?
As a player, I've grown so much since I've got here. It's been a long process for me coming out of high school. Didn't come here my first year, so having the opportunity to come back my sophomore year and then this year as well, as a player, as a person, as a student, it's just impacted me greatly. Coach Greg has done so much for me, and I couldn't thank him enough, honestly. So, yeah.
So now that you are wrapped up and you are playing here a little bit as with all of your teammates, you are going to be hopefully transferring to a different school. How do you think that that is going to change possibly even the program here, or how you will play in the future?
So I actually did just commit to play D2 soccer at the University of San Marcos. I'm heading there in the spring. So, I mean, my teammates have had my back, my coaches have had my back, and now, I mean, my whole role this year has just been trying to pour as much into them as I can, just being the best teammate, and, you know, just coaching some of the younger guys on the team. So I think I'm trying to leave as big of an impact as I can. And, you know, coaches are helping me with that. Just trying to do my part here for the program this year, and, you know, looking to win a national championship. So, yeah.
Hopefully you guys go 3 in a row. Thank you for the interview.
Of course.
Hi, Mario Nakshon here with Coach Greg Avila. So we're here celebrating the 2018 Conference Championship. Are there any memories that you're really fond of from that year?
Man, it's just the whole culmination of it. I think the build up to it, and since coming here in 2016, just knowing what we were up against and the history of rebuilding the program, and just chasing to get back to where it was 26 years prior. And I think just going up to that year and all the hard work, you know, and in that year, the fact that the group was coming off of like a very unsuccessful year, and how we really had to work all the way up, and every game was just getting better and better. So I think that really perfecting the process was probably the best memory we have in it.
Were there any games that you would say were really big turning points, or like notable games that you like think about that will define your career?
I'd say that define it. I think it definitely would leave lasting memories in a lot of my alums. I think there was a game that we lost really bad, and we didn't play poor, and we had Santa Ana coming up the next day, and I had the guys do what they would call it the miracle workout and sprints on the line, and we went and, you know, we learned a lot about ourselves and who we really wanted to be. And after that game, we played Santa Ana to a really tough game, but we walked away from there knowing exactly who we wanted to be, and I think that was really important to our season and making the run that we made that year.
So since then, 3 more of those conference championships, and now you guys are nearing 100 wins since you started coaching here. How does that feel?
I think it just feels great to know how many people that we've been able to impact. You know, I think that the wins is phenomenal, but it's how many winners came out of those seasons, you know, and what the guys are doing now and what they've been able to do, and how the program has transformed their lives, and how they were able to take this process to becoming a police officer, lawyers, doctors, real estate brokers. And we have alumni all across the whole world, in Brazil, Japan, Turkey, Spain, all across the country, Texas, Tennessee, New York. I think that's just really been the phenomenal thing. So it's not so much the on the field 100 wins, it's the hundreds of kids that we've been able to impact through this process of this program.
So on top of the on-the-field success, you like to see them get ahead in life when it comes to their school or their work or any other aspects like that?
That is the priority of our program. You know, we take the pride in student athlete being, you know, that the education process this is the foundation. The field and the game of soccer we love is the common place that brings us together, and we pride ourselves as being the stepping stone to the next platform of life that they have, and we're just really proud of being able to share the field with them, but using this everyday classroom sessions, talks, locker rooms to be able to propel them into what they really want to do with their life.
Is there anything else that you are thinking of adding to that when it comes to building on the success for the future?
That's just continuing to grow, you know, continuing to master with every new group of kids, new generation of student athletes. Things change, challenges change, and so for us to continue to revamp and revive and just continue just to tweak our process to continue to help them and meet the students where they are. I think every year there's going to be a new place where we have to go and meet them, and as we continue to do that every year, that's the new challenge, and we welcome those challenges.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
You just heard from Greg Aviles. So Ryan, what do you think that the biggest impact with the players he has is?
Well, I mean, you just heard it from Greg Aviles. His biggest emphasis is that he makes sure that these student athletes have the best opportunity to not just move on in their own soccer lives, but their own personal lives as well. And I mean, those who have watched the Coaches Show for quite a long time on this channel, they have the opportunity to hear Greg Aviles talk about that a few times, in that his big thought process when it comes to these players is not just what happens on the field directly behind us or on the road, but it's all about the academic success. What can they do academically? What can they do as a person, whether it be at work, whether it be at home, whether it be with their friends? How can they grow? And it's like he just said in your interview a few moments ago, how do you keep growing? In what aspect can you figure out a way to keep growing? When you think that you may have been at your limit and you've gone so far, where can you find the spot that you can continue to grow? And I think that's his big thought process when it comes to the players and that impact that you're talking about. If you look at that 2018 conference championship team, of course, is the first of 4 for Fullerton College under his reign so far, and Kenny's reign as well. You look at both of them heading up this program, and what you constantly see from these guys is not just on the field, like we mentioned, it's off the field as well, but you look at the success that these student athletes have had after leaving the program. Just a few moments ago, Greg mentioned lawyers, doctors, students, people who go on and have very big success when they leave the program. That's what's emphasized here with this program. That 2018 conference championship win is going to be a sweet moment to remember this week, not just on the Coaches Show, but also on Futbol Fridays, where we will carry the Futbol Friday Game of the Week for Fullerton College right here on Hornet Radio, and then also the Full Call Athletic Sports homepage. If you have the opportunity, it's a 6 p.m. start. Joseph Pavlenko will carry the call there for you. So if you want to see that celebration and see those alumni and see that success in person, you have not only the opportunity to see that impact in person, you can see it on Futbol Fridays, but you just see it in the way that these men carry themselves, whether they're in the program or out of the program. That's the biggest impact.
All right, well, thank you so much, Ryan. I'm Aryan Akshon here with Ryan Osborne on the Coaches Show on Hornet Radio.
Welcome back to Futbol Fridays here on Hornet Radio. Well, just a few moments ago, you watched the Coaches Show with Ari Nakshon and myself, Ryan Osborne. We're getting set for the beginning of the second half. But before we get you the beginning of the second half, Ari Nakshon actually talked to Greg Aviles going into halftime about what he sees in his team and what they need to do going forward. So as we get set, let's bring it over to Greg Aviles, and when we come back, we'll have more of halftime, or excuse me, more of the second half. And I take that back. My own technical, we'll say abilities, is called into question here just for a moment. When you take a look at this overall second half, Fullerton College, the main thing that they have to do is they have to be able to get themselves more cohesive on the attack. As we get Ari Nakshon to turn up Mark's mic, and we get the opportunity to bring in Mark Pavlovich here in just a moment. Mark, you take a look at this second half. One thing that Greg Aviles mentioned is that he's got to be able to see his team get those passes connected. When you look at this second half, Mark, how do they do that? Because it sounds so simple.
Yeah, I think they need to walk the ball up. And when I say walk the ball up, that doesn't mean you're not running, but you have to be able to make those short, quick passes to get people open. That puts pressure on everybody to play defense from Irvine Valley. That breaks somebody free because somebody's going to cheat as a defender. They're going to try and double team. That clears somebody up, and that's what's going to help Fullerton in this second half. So we'll see if they can make those crisp, clean passes to be able to make things work on the offensive end.
So as we get set for the second half, both these two teams, a mix of their starting lineups and a couple of changes as well for Fullerton College. We will get more on that in just a few moments. Ari, you got a chance to talk to Greg Aviles at the half. Unfortunately, due to my own mistake, wasn't able to play that halftime interview. But what was he talking about going into the half?
Scoring, really. I asked him a couple questions. I was interested on what he thought of the first half. He said they played really well, they just couldn't put away those chances. And then I asked him about the second half, and the same answer. All he wants is to score. They're playing well, they're getting the right chances in, they're just not putting them away. So what he wants is the ball in the back of the net.
So for Fullerton College, you heard it right there from Ari. They want the ball in the back of the net. And if you're looking at it from Fullerton's perspective, Mark, 4 goals in their last matchup against Santiago Canyon. Joe, I'll also include you on this because you saw them last week here on Futbol Fridays, as this one is on the floor for a second and cleared away there. But this is a Fullerton offense that can bring out 4 goals in a match and shut someone out. But for the moment being, it just isn't there. And I know, Mark, what you talked about is how they can get those passes to work. But I bring you guys both in to ask, what shape do they need to take to be able to get those passes to work?
Well, I think they need to widen the field, guys. I don't think they've widened the field enough. They've either been very heavy on the left or heavy on the right. And when you widen the field, you take it wide on both sides. You keep a person in the middle to be able to handle the ball, but you've got to widen the attack, and they haven't widened the attack. It's been centralized on one side or the other.
I think Mark's spot on. We're seeing lots of kickball, lots of long balls. Yeah, that's sending the ball downfield, but we're not seeing the pass around that we've seen in the past with the Hornets, and that's how you lengthen the field. That's how you pull a defender out of position, a midfielder out of position. They think they can maybe get a cheeky tackle, get the ball from you. So they start maybe drifting out of position as you're passing around the midfield area. That leaves you an open lane to do a pass. You make that pass, you're down the field, and hopefully you find the back of the net in that sort of situation.
Down the middle, Legate not able to get to it in time. And you mentioned that, Joe. I mean, you watch this Fullerton College attacking trio, attacking quadruple, if you will, because they're changing them out constantly in this matchup. But it seems like what we've seen in the past and what we saw last year is they're a very momentum-based team. They have not been able to build the momentum that we need so far. I bring it over to Ari. Ari, right before we send you back down onto the field, you take a look at what you saw at the half. When the guys were walking off the field, what was the feeling?
A little bit of frustration, but also you saw that everyone was ready to play for it all. It's 0-0, so really anything can happen, and that first goal gives the team all the momentum going into the rest of the game. And once you put the foot on that gas, you don't want to take it off for the rest of the night. So we'll see how it looks for Fullerton and IVC for the rest of the game.
So we will send Ari Nakshon back to the sideline. He is our sideline reporter here tonight. We want to thank him for joining us here this afternoon. And once again, if you want to hear more from Ari, not only tonight on the sidelines as Hayden Kenny is going to step in for Fullerton College, but if you want to hear more from Ari, like you saw a few moments ago,
You're fine.
he got the opportunity to be a part of the Coaches Show and will be a part of the Coaches Show throughout the remainder of the semester. He did an excellent job talking to this soccer team and Greg Avilas earlier this last couple of weeks. He also got a chance to join Media Day for men's basketball on campus earlier yesterday. So more of the Coaches Show, more of Ari coming up here on Hornet Radio. Ball gets cleared away from 2. Hayden Kenny enters for Fullerton College. So what you guys were talking about in that first half, how can Hayden Kenny change things for Fullerton? Well, we will see what his impact is as Nathan Giles goes to catch up to this one. Can't before it is tipped away from him and taken over by Carter Cooper. Ball goes out. Cooper is going to toss it in.
Yeah, I mean, guys, how many times have we seen white touches the ball, blue touches the ball, white touches the ball, blue? There isn't that consistent 3 passes in a row that makes anything a threat for either of these teams.
Yeah, and you mentioned that, Mark. I mean, even the passes that are connecting, they're not into space. They don't lead anyone to. So you're seeing guys have to control the ball from either bouncing or it ricochets just a shade. And even when the passes do connect, they're not as clean as they would like.
Yeah, exactly, Ryan. I mean, it's really like a bad abstract painting right now.
Hayden Kenny gets called for a foul. So he's going to have to let this one go by. Just underway here in the second half of play. Shade over 5.5 gone here in the second half between Fullerton and Irvine Valley. Last year, if you remember watching Fullerton College and IVC, very contentious matchup that finished with a 3-3 draw. Fullerton College going up 3-0 to start the game in an early afternoon matchup. They ended up giving up 3 straight right at the end to end up giving a draw to IVC. As one of the few times that Fullerton didn't come away with a win in conference play last year, they would like the opportunity to get that back here at Hal Scherbeck Field. Under 39 to play as the clock keeps ticking down. Neither team has gotten on the board. Ball floats up, checked away, goes over to Coffin. Coffin now sees Ron. Ron trying to turn away from Legate. Legate with Ron, little floater, tries to find Sherman. The run wasn't completed yet or hadn't been initiated yet, and it goes away, and it will be a goal kick.
You know, Ryan, I said to Joe as we were talking, this is not a contentious match between these teams. I mean, this is a polite soccer game.
What us three saw last year between Fullerton and Irvine Valley was not only chirping, it was high physicality. In fact, multiple yellow cards were shown. If you remember, Mark, going back to that matchup, and Joe, you were here with me as well, IVC scored, and immediately the guy who scored, and I can't remember his name at the moment, Ivan, ends up coming over towards the near side to taunt different people in the stands.
Yeah.
And that's what we kind of expected from an IVC matchup. But here tonight, it's kind of like you said, almost a gentlemanly type matchup.
Well, I'd like to add an asterisk to that comment, though. 8-ish minutes into this second half, we saw Hayden Kenny with one look at the goal and some physicality. Mark, like you were talking about, it's been a gentlemanly game. Hayden Kenny came out here and he's like, nah, let's get physical.
Yeah, because I think that's how Fullerton plays well. When they get in a very physical game, I think they can outman many teams on the physicality.
The Gate taking this one right to the sideline with Nathan Giles. Giles gets that one taken away. He gets tripped by Legate, and a free kick coming out for Fullerton College. So here's your chance, if you're Fullerton, to bring up Max Ron, the most consistent person in terms of free kicks for the team. Now for Fullerton, they also bring on Cesar Marquez. So Mark, you look at the attacking line for Fullerton, very different than what we thought would start, but now you've got the mainstays as Giles gets that one off the side of his head, nearly hits the camera, and ends up going awry. So for Giles, he gets the chance, but now if you're Fullerton College, it's basically, hey, we're not messing around anymore here, Mark, as they bring in 3 guys who we thought were going to start this matchup.
Yeah, and we don't know why somebody doesn't start, so that's a coach's choice.
I mean, it could be just as easy as you get the opportunity to give a different look. You get a chance to bring in guys who wouldn't normally have the opportunity to play in conference play. And then also, Mark, what you can also attribute it to is you get a different look shown to IVC in the first 45 of play. Then all of a sudden you bring on those 3 guys who are normally your starters as fresh legs to enter this one, and it changes things on an outlook side.
Yeah, and you really don't see, you know, I don't know on the Irvine side, Ryan, if they have countered with bringing a bunch of new faces in for them in this second half.
So far, it looks like the squad that finished off the first half of play. Little scooter, right side. Giles trying to sprint over to it. He gets boxed out. And well positioned and played there for Irvine Valley. Legate on the near side. He will watch on. Cooper Coffin running over to his guys, trying to pump them up and saying, hey, come on, guys, we got to get things going here. Ball into the air. Fullerton gets away with the handball, and it will go out of bounds. Substitution coming in. Max Ron will take a seat. Coming in for him will be Pedro Delgado. Delgado, 6 foot, 180 sophomore out of Villa Park. Foul called by the near side judge. And he will call that against Delgado as it's 22 against 22 there as Carter Cooper is the one who ends up seeing himself go to the floor. Logan Coffin was the one who was pumping everyone up just a few moments prior. Popped into the air. Clings around between two, and it ends up going to Delgado. Delgado wants to throw quickly, goes over to Giles, and referee says, hey, moving up just a shade too much there, my guy.
You know what? I blame it all on Ari. You know, he's gone down and keeps asking the coaches what's going on. He's standing there right now, and I'm thinking, Ari, you know, tell him, hey, we need some excitement out here.
You want to be as excited as Michael Kopesh on an 0-2 count. IVC takes it away right down the middle of the park. Areola trying to catch up, and chance for Legate. Legate off to his left, and that is slid away nicely there by Yole. Guys, Evan Yole has gotten consistent minutes last year and this year, and it seems like with each and every game, he is back there not only responsibly for Fullerton's back line as the center back, but it seems like he keeps reading lines more and more efficiently the more he gets the opportunity to play, and it's all to Fullerton's benefit.
Yeah, he brings a great deal to this team when you look at what he can do. He's multi-versatile, which is one of the things I think Greg really likes in soccer players, players that can do a variety of different things on the field.
Punched out. Here's Giles. Giles looking for Kenny. Kenny's not going to catch up to it before that gets cleared away. Ball goes off the foot of Porter Benioff. And for Benioff, he will have to watch it once more. He comes all the way back for it. He might just let this one go all the way to the touchline and out, and that's exactly what he does.
Really looks like Kenny is out there. Not that the Hornets weren't the first half of the game, but Kenny seems hungry to try to find the back of the net. He wants to make something happen.
Yeah, and each of the two possessions that he's had here in the second half have been dangerous to space. He hasn't had the opportunity to really look at goal yet. Here's Legate. Legate has an excellent leg. It goes off of Yole. It hits his arm. The bench for IVC is up in arms. Chance for IVC. Here's a shot that gets blocked. It's going to be poked out of play. And a throw-in coming up for Irvine. Irvine is not thrilled with the non-call. It did look like, guys, that did go off the arm of Yole, and the official with the angle didn't have the opportunity to see it.
They don't call handballs. You know, and I've talked to the referees. They keep saying it's inadvertent handballs. So once again, I think they've just become very aware that they don't feel like a player's doing it intentionally.
Listen, until I get my Periscope that I requested to see the action on the field, I don't feel like I can make a call about that.
What the officials, I believe, said, and this is unofficial until Ari comes up and confirms it, but I believe what the official said, it's called a handball, not an arm ball. You're welcome.
Ryan,
you're welcome.
Ryan, do you really feel like it was that thing that changed what could go on down there? I mean, if you do, then the handball will get called. If you feel like it doesn't, you let him play on.
The reason why I will say no is because Yole did have his body in behind his arm as well. So even if he does miss it with his arm, it would have hit his side. So going to that statement that you're talking about, Mark, had it hit his side, the result would have been exactly the same. But nonetheless, the purist in all three of us, right, says, okay, handball, we see it. If we're able to see it, you got to call it. But it's like Mark mentioned, different levels and then also different paces of play. Different officials feel certain ways on how things should be called. Does it affect the run of play? Does it affect the result? In this case, they're saying it wasn't an unnatural position that allows for that handball to end up being played.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like any sport. You know, if you've got a quarterback on the field, you would think they could throw a pass, but that doesn't necessarily happen. In soccer, handballs happen, and, you know, certain people are going to say they should call it. Other people would say no.
So Ari Nakshon re-enters the booth here, our sideline reporter. And Ari, I bring it over to you. What we saw here was a handball. Now, of course, you heard all the clamor from this side of the field, that side of the field. What was everyone saying? And especially, I saw one of the IVC guys come up to the near side official to try and explain his case.
So obviously we saw the reactions from both benches. IVC's bench went crazy. They obviously saw it as a handball. They wanted that penalty. From where I was standing, it looked like his hand was close enough to his body where it was in that natural state. The sideline ref, he agreed. He said, hand right here, he showed the arm motion to the guy who came up to him. And the player, he was a little frustrated. I heard some words. But it wasn't enough separation from the body to justify a penalty, which is why it ended up not being called.
Ball clings around in the box for just a second for Fullerton College. They don't end up getting anything out of it. Have a chance here, left side, but the touch is too hard, and it will skeeter away. But it's like you mentioned, that's something that we were talking about, Mark, Joe, myself. We were just mentioning a few moments ago that it seemed like it was a natural position play. So the ball hits the arm, but it's not extended. It's not in that unnatural state, as you said. Now, when you look at it from Fullerton's perspective, I mean, we always look at the team that is asking for the call, but we don't look at the team that benefits from the call. What was Fullerton's bench like after the handball?
We saw a little bit of relaxation, obviously. There were a couple players who stood up and obviously were calling for it not to be a penalty after everyone started going crazy on the IVC side. The rules are a little bit more relaxed when it comes to having your hands down. If their hand was obviously up past their waist or in a weird motion that isn't natural, like if they were falling and they had their hands up, it would obviously have been given as a penalty. But due to the nature of where his arms were, I just don't think that Fullerton even considered that it could have been a penalty in the first place.
Well, thank you very much, Ari. We appreciate it. We look forward to your next update here. And once again, Ari Nakshon, the host of the Coaches Show all semester long here on Hornet Radio. We'll hear more from him in just a little bit. Mark, Joe, reactions very different on both sidelines. We've already talked about why it wasn't called. But now you look at it, it seems like even though it doesn't get called, Fullerton College is kind of watching IVC slowly take over the momentum of this match.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, Joe. You've talked about it. We both said this is a gentleman's game. You know, I'm waiting for somebody just to get leveled and to see a yellow card come out.
Yeah, we've started to see some of the what feels like traditional second half chippiness, some physicality creeping into the game at the second half. Maybe we call it some second half urgency felt by both sides on the ball. But yeah, IVC is just doing a better job at exerting their will on the Fullerton College squad than Fullerton College is able to maintain the control of the momentum that they did in the first half.
Under 27 to play in this one. Fullerton College, Irvine Valley still knotted up at 0 apiece. Now remember, this is conference play as Hayden Kenny is going to get to this ball. He gets a little bit of a collision there, but it looked like, Mark, he stepped on the ball and takes a tumble.
Yeah, I think he was looking for a wish list, you know, on that one.
But you look at it, Kenny has that opportunity to get up to it, and that is exactly where you see his impact. Hayden Kenny has great speed and good command and control of this offense when he's played into open space. If you're Fullerton College, Mark, you want to see Kenny more involved exactly like that.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, like Greg said, he's the guy that can set up everybody else on the field, and Joe's brought that up more than once. We haven't seen those opportunities with anybody doing that for those fellow players tonight in this game.
Ball far side, Fullerton right to the touchline. Little offsider that goes over to the right side of the offense for them. Finn Monk is going to take it. Monk will see that one go out. We're going to have a whole host of substitutions. So we'll call this a full line change for both sides. 8 different guys in. We'll cover the guys here that we can see on the near side as Fullerton will take that attacking 4 group of players off as Thomas Gomez will enter. Max Ron comes right back on. Josias Palacios will enter for Fullerton along with David Garcia as well. Taking a seat will be Pedro Delgado. They will also be joined momentarily by Kevin Castro, in addition to Julio Toaza, and also joining them will be Jared Rodriguez.
Well, and Ryan, you weren't here last week, but Mark had the chance to talk to Greg about how he runs his substitutions and when he makes those choices. And it's, Mark, correct me if I'm misspeaking, but you said it's when they're not playing the scheme, essentially, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, and they're basically freelancing out there. So there's set things that they want in this game. And, if you're not getting it, you're going to change people out.
Here's a chance. Palacios trying to get there. He almost gets taken down. And Mark, Joe, is that a situation where as a coach you look at it and say, hey, I know you want to play through this ball, but, I think you're feeling your balance go from you.
Yeah, hit the turf and then roll over and show them the blood.
Excellent chance there for Palacios. Almost gets to it, and it would have been an opportunity for Fullerton inside the box. They're just not able to get that to go. Hayden Kenny doing exactly what we were told, facing away from the goal, setting things up for the offense. Max Ron on to the right, just passing the 20-yard line here at Hal Scherbeck Field. He gets over towards the corner, swings it over to his left, looking for Kenny. 3 different IVC lasers are there to take it away. Newman now trying to get forward. He gets fouled.
It's exactly what Palacios should have done.
You feel that contact, you're in the clear. Take, what is it? If you're going to go back to the Gordon Bombay, take the hit, take the fall, become indignant.
Get the technical.
Get the technical, the unsportsmanlike conduct, -5 yards, all of the above. Under 23 minutes to play. Fullerton College and IVC still looking for their first. Little scoop, left side, goes over towards Sherman. Sherman with the angle. He's able to body this one right to the sideline. One thing that is a little different here, Mark, you look at Fullerton College shape-wise, you see Kyle Sherman on the right side of the field, which usually we always see him patrolling the left side of the attack.
Yeah, and I find that I don't know if they're doing it tonight because they want the versatility as we see, hey, you're supposed to throw it in from this side of the field. Once again, we see that little, hey, trying to get a little extra. You sort of wonder if they need that versatility because they think that's what they need as this season goes on.
21:45 showing on the clock. Getting towards the later stages of this one. We're almost in the 8th or 9th inning, if you will. Ball goes out. Goal kick coming up.
Are you trying to tell me something down there?
A little bit.
Oh, okay.
21.5 gone in what is a scoreless game here, but not other places. Fullerton College, you look at it, Mark, you saw them play against each other, Cypress and Fullerton. When you look at Fullerton and how they played in that matchup versus what you saw on Friday for Futbol Fridays, now to this one, is there anything that has really stood out to you that has been the difference as to why Fullerton just doesn't look like they've connected so far?
Well, I don't think Fullerton's playing as physical as they have before. The Cypress game was extremely physical when they played against each other. When we look at last Friday, it was the same thing. It's just a different group of players out there right now, and maybe there is something that we actually saw where somebody took somebody off the ball.
You talk
That's
about
the
physicality.
physical. Yeah.
Here's Palacios trying to catch up to it. Up in arms is that IVC sideline. And Mark, just from over here, it looks like they do have reason to be upset. You have a little bit of contact towards the box, but if you're looking at it from the officials' perspective, the reason why it maintains consistency is because a lot of that has been allowed to play on throughout the night.
Well, I don't think they've been that physical tonight, and I don't mind that physicality out there. As long as it's consistent for both teams and the referee lets them play with it, that's fine.
Yeah, well, and if you're Fullerton, that is the breakaway where all of the IVC forwards were basically flat-footed waiting for the whistle to be blown. Fullerton ran up the field. That's the look that should have found the back of the net.
Yeah,
or could have, I should say.
And it's like you mentioned, you had Sherman who lays that one over towards the middle of the park. They're just not able to get everyone over to it. Newman's going to approach this one, float it into the air. It's an opportunity that ends up over towards the side of the box, kicked towards the middle, and cleared away by Fullerton College and Max Ron. IVC not looking for that long shot. They flip it over towards the far sideline. Now moving towards the middle, take it away. They say, Ryan, you said a long shot. I am going to fire this on goal as Newman, the leading scorer for IVC, just misses over top of that post.
Well, and those are the kind of shots, like I said, that were absent from the first half of play. You have to fire off some of those lobs, those bullets, whatever you call it, those lasers, into danger to keep the keeper on their toes. Let him know that, yeah, the ball's that far out. You know, you see it on our football field hash marks. It's 30 yards out. You could be in some danger still from that far out.
Speaking of outs, one left as Fullerton College sees this one go out on the far side touchline. Actually make it a goal kick as Fullerton, again, attacking from left to right here in this second half. On the other side, IVC going from right to left, trying to defend. Played up to Areola. Right side, Fullerton trying to catch up to it. Played into the corner. Here's Coffin. Coffin trying to catch that one into the corner, and it is a Fullerton College throw-in.
So we're seeing 17 minutes and change left to play. Fullerton with a throw-in. This is where you'd really like to see them make something happen.
Ball played up. Here's another opportunity. Chance for Fullerton just outside the box. A shot is taken. That's deflected twice. Gets away from two. Inside the box. Here's Marquez. Shot that goes off of another opportunity for a defender to get there. Excellent opportunity. I'm saying opportunity multiple times, but you look at Coffin right there. He gets to that ball, places his body in front of the shot. Mark, Joe, that is how you defend when you know your goalie is currently out of position.
Yeah, and quick first step to get to the ball. Just a little quicker than the Hornets. If the Hornets are a little more fleet of foot, we could see the first goal in this game.
16:40 on the clock. Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
I was going to say, if you're Fullerton, you just call that unlucky, as we're nearing the 74th minute of play.
Joe, you really call that unlucky?
Yeah, I call that unlucky. They beat you to the punch, but it's still unlucky.
Ball goes out. Toss in IVC.
I find the tenacity of IVC. You know, like people say, you make your own luck. That's what they did.
Under 16 to play. It's going to be interesting to see what Ari says when it comes to that last play in Irvine Valley. I mean, if you're looking at things from Irvine's side, Mark, Joe, you got to be a little bit more vocal considering, and not saying that they haven't been, but it almost feels like you, if you're an Irvine Valley fan, haven't gotten the calls that you would like, and now all of a sudden you're hyper aware of what the officials are doing in the second half.
Yeah, but like Mark said, they're calling a fairly consistent game. I don't think you can be too feelings hurt about it because they've been fairly even about how they've decided to let play continue on the field. And we've been the three up here all season long so far, saying that we would like the refs to not, you know, essentially be a 12th man on the field for either team. Let the play continue. Let the players decide the outcome of the game.
Under 15 to play as into the corner it went. It was going to be a corner kick for Fullerton College. However, a little bit of a stoppage here as Logan Coffin, currently being attended to by the official, just wants to check in on him and see how he is doing.
Yeah, Always stay on the ground a couple seconds longer so you can get that attention from the official. How you doing, sir? Nice to meet you. It's been a great day. Brisk 74 degrees here tonight at Fullerton College at Hal Scherbeck Field.
Hi, my name's Joe.
So corner kick for Fullerton. Actually, excuse me, it's a very deep toss-in. Almost punched back. That was we'll say a broken play for Fullerton, and it lands over towards Marquez where Newman's going to take it with speed. Newman trying to go one-on-one. He ends up losing the ball for just a moment. He slides this one over towards the right where Legate tries to catch up to it but cannot. And it goes out. Fullerton College will concede possession.
Hey, you know, if there's a loose peanut butter and jelly sandwich sitting there in front of your plate, you pick it up and nobody else wants it, and you take a bite out of it.
As long as
That's
it's got
what they
strawberry
needed
jelly.
to do. Hey, if it's strawberry jelly, not grape, too bad.
No. See, that is where you guys are wrong. And partially confirmed by the men's basketball team in media day. Many people like the grape jelly, as they should, because grape jelly is the correct and only jelly to put on a PB&J. Isn't that right, Ari? As we bring in the sideline reporter for tonight, Ari Nakshon.
Of course. If you're putting strawberry jelly or some other sort of jam, I mean, maybe the occasional.
Now he's talking
or
about
the-
jam. We're
the,
going to talk
the
about
boysenberry, you know, you can go exotic with it, but if it's a regular PB&J on the day-to-day, gotta be grape jelly.
what's this madness? Were we talking about preserves next? When does the lunacy stop?
Let's put fresh fruit on that peanut butter
Oh,
and jelly
my
sandwich.
God.
Come on.
All right, back onto the field. 12 and a half left. Ari, we do bring you back up here for non-PB&J related reasons. You take a look at the sideline. What is the current feeling?
Well, we saw a couple of uncalled fouls, and so it's getting a little bit more tense on both sides. I'm seeing it more from the Fullerton side because it's just closer, but the Irvine Valley side was not happy about a couple of no calls, some pushes in the back. And we understand the ref is trying to be fair to both teams, but you can be fair to both teams by giving yellow cards to each or giving a couple warnings so that they can control the game a little bit better. And I have a feeling that maybe some of the tenseness is because he's letting a lot go, that maybe he should be saying, hey, I am the boss here, not you guys. It is your game to play, but you also have to play by the rules.
Ari's over here sounding like me.
He has learned well as Fullerton College brings this one down, punted away. They will go all the way out for a Fullerton College throw-in. Now, guys, we see 11 minutes left on the clock, 11 and a half to be exact. Mark, I'll bring you in with Ari and Joe as well. You look at both these two sides, I will put it plainly. Compared to the other OEC games we have seen, this one has been more of a snoozer than we have seen in the past. Now, obviously, as Mark said, every single result going forward for IVC has to be a win. You look at draws and you consider them to be a loss. If you are IVC, and I'll bring all three of you into this, how do you take these final 10 minutes and get your max press?
You score.
Well, I think Joe answered for all of us, so, you know. I think you need to start pushing everybody up. I know I would be one of those coaches that would take a lot of chances
I was going to
on
say
the
that's
field.
with Fullerton, that's a really high risk, potentially high reward play, Mark.
I'd still take it. I mean, if I'm IVC, I need to win.
So you'd rather take the risk and lose it 1-0 to a 0-0 ending.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I think that for both teams, a draw will feel like a loss at the end of the day.
Well, it should.
For Fullerton, they should win this. To be 0-0 at the 80th minute is not the outcome they thought would be at this point of the game or at all tonight. And so for them, it's obviously disappointing. So they'll want to push up and try to get some last plays in. But for IVC too, they need these points. They need it much more than Fullerton do. But Fullerton also have the higher expectations to win tonight.
Right.
Ari, I've got to ask you something. Did you say Fullerton should have won this?
Well, going into tonight, I think that they had the stats to back it up. They had the record. They have the players. And, yeah, I think they should have.
Okay.
Well, before the match started, weren't we all four of us talking amongst ourselves? Weren't they leading the conference?
They were. And, I mean, Mark mentioned it standing-wise as Hayden Kenny was about 3 to 4 inches wide to the right of sending Fullerton College to a positive 1-0 result. But Hayden Kenny sees that one go just wide. The best chance for Fullerton tonight, because you get it to one of your best attackers, and it just ends up going awry. I bring it back to what you were talking about, Joe. Fullerton College trying to keep towards the top of the conference. Remember, this is a team that has won back-to-back conference titles. They have 4 conference championships in their last 5 seasons of play. Of course, 2020, no season being played. 2021, Golden West ends up getting the conference championship. But this is a team with not only a pedigree, but you see a lot of the guys currently in the lineup who have been a part of a conference championship team. And, Mark, they know there will be no opportunity for easy results. Obviously, you have a team in IVC who's not having the up year that they did last year, but you cannot treat these last 8 minutes as if it's going to automatically go to a 0-0 draw.
Well, and realize when the playoffs come around, power rankings has a lot to do with where you end up. It's just not your standings. If you've got outstanding power rankings, you could have a worse record and actually make it into the playoffs.
That is true. I mean, it's what you've talked with Greg Aviles in the past about where people stand doesn't necessarily resolve around the result.
Yeah, exactly. And we know that Fullerton plays one of the toughest and has one of the best power rankings in Southern California. You look at the amount of out-of-state teams they play. They don't care who they are. They don't care how good they are. They'll play anybody. I think that's what Greg gets ready for. And so if you're a Hornet fan, if this ends up in a draw or an IVC loss, now you're going to sit there and go, okay, what's going on with the soccer team?
Corner kick for IVC, so a great opportunity for the Lasers to get themselves on the board late in this one. Under 7 minutes to play. Floated up to the side, hits the post, a chance for Martinez. He gets a save on that, and that also clanged off the pipe, and Fullerton College saves themselves thanks to the goalkeeping of Steven Martinez.
There
Wow.
You go. There you go, Mark. Both sides starting to make the goalkeepers kind of sweat a little bit.
And, Mark, back to what we were talking about when you said how I think that Fullerton should win this. I mean, this Irvine Valley team, not as good as last year. They've started this year 2-7-1.
There is a penalty call. So a few moments ago, what happened is that Fullerton College and Areola ends up going back for that ball just inside the box. He tries to control it, but it goes off the inside of his elbow. And we'll see the behind the net shot coming up in just a little bit because the penalty is coming up over to our left. And an excellent chance here for Irvine Valley College to steal one at Fullerton.
Penalty kick awarded to Irvine Valley.
So not just a free kick, a penalty kick.
Armin Hagigan. 2 goals, 3 assists to his credit. He's going to give it up to Luke Newman. Newman with 4 goals and 5 assists. He has 13 points, which leads the team. He does not have a penalty kick to his credit, but he has both game winners for this IVC team so far this season. One against Rio Hondo and one against Southwestern. Neither were from the spot. He's going to get the signal from the official. Right-footed, steps up to it, gives it a chance, and he scores! Irvine Valley College with a late penalty has taken the lead over top of Fullerton. A little bit of a skirmish on the far side trying to get the ball back for Fullerton as they need to hurry things up and get things rolling offensively. But the Fullerton College Hornets watch as Irvine Valley has not only taken the lead, but Mark, they have taken command of this one.
Hello, Newman. I mean, that's the way I feel right about now. You know, again, handball called. We've seen another handball, inadvertent. And then you saw Irvine Valley grab a hold and hold the ball to watch the clock tick down. So we're going to have a discussion here on the sideline.
burning more time. Fullerton with 4 minutes and change to try to do something. And now I bet they wish they could have dodged that handball.
And rolling back to it, it was Areola who's going back for the ball. Tries to control it inside the box. The ball hits his right oblique and then pops up and hits his arm as it is extended away from his body. Areola gets the foul here, and Fullerton is going to bring in a bunch of subs in just a moment. Kyle Sherman, Max Ron, joined by Thomas Gomez and Omar Ruiz. Those are the four for the Hornets as they get dispossessed and taken away there by Carter Cooper. Cooper on the near side, Irvine Valley just trying to waste as much clock as they can with 3:40 left.
Mark, you and I, the musically inclined, the ones that like to talk about momentum, tempo, rhythm of the game. Now all of a sudden, all of those things are in IVC's favor. Fullerton with 3 minutes and change left on the clock. What are they going to do?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about Fullerton and the music thing, they've been singing off key all night long, Joe, and it's going to be a little hard to find that right note with only a couple minutes left to play. Irvine Valley, they're happy as all get out, guys, right now. Now they need to play defense.
Here's Kenny. He's got to find someone. He does. Off to the right. It is Gomez who is off sides. Third time for Thomas Gomez today that he has been called for an offsides, and it's just a shade off. And the official is right on it to make sure that the call is made.
Moments ago, we were all talking about Fullerton could use the win. Tie might as well be a loss at this point of the season. And now Fullerton needs the tie.
Yeah, you look at it, Fullerton's side, they only have 2.5 minutes to do so of official time left on the clock. That doesn't include the additional time that was stopped for the penalty kick and also after the goal. Sorry, Mark, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and if you're Irvine Valley, it becomes a bigger win because of who you beat, and this being such a young soccer team, all of a sudden now the confidence grows with Irvine Valley.
Goal kick coming up for Fullerton. They want to play quickly. They've got to do so in a hurry. Pedro Delgado. Delgado is going to have to go one-on-one. He's got to win this battle and keep it away from the sideline. He does so for a second, and Omar Ruiz takes over. Ruiz finds someone in space. It goes over to Delgado, and IVC says, hey, Ryan, Joe, Ari, here's the ball.
You thought your stuff was safe.
Kicked out. Under 2 minutes to play, 1:30 on the clock. They're letting it run as Nathan Giles is going to go with a deep toss into the center of the box. The only one back is Evan Yole. He's going to step up for Fullerton as well. The Hornets will wait until he gets a chance to get there. No one back for Fullerton College as they're trying to get a tie. Toss deep. It is there. The opportunity. It hits two. Fullerton was asking for a handball, and it is called. 1:19 on the clock, and the official says, hey, you know what? If we're going to call it on the one side, we've got to call it on this side. Mark, Joe, Ari, to me at least, it looked like that was the correct call, but the officials will have a conversation for a moment. There is no change there, and IVC doesn't like it. Fullerton with a chance to draw.
Home cooking, baby. Home cooking.
So as we get that behind the goal shot for another penalty kick, as the team set up. See the action again. Oh, and some shoving.
Just a little bit of trying to get into the penalty taker's head. And if I'm Fullerton, Mark, I go right to the guy that you saw score against Cyprus. You go right to Max Ron.
Yeah, exactly.
For Ron, it looks like just the way that he was setting up initially, he's going to be kicking it right-footed. Hayden Kenny trying to clear out the box for him. Now he'll take a couple steps back. Left-footed shot. Ron already converted 1 for 1 so far this season.
So sports psychology right now. When IVC took the kick, nothing to lose, everything to gain. Fullerton, everything to lose, and a tie to gain.
Max Ron waiting for word from the official who's talking to the IVC sideline. Again, he is 1 for 1 from the spot. He has one game-winning goal.
Ryan, if you saw the penalty kick against Cyprus, it was so nonchalant.
Going back to that, Mark, you and I saw it on the replay. He just kind of walked up to it, kicked it in, no celebration, walked away.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was there at Cyprus when he kicked it in. It looked like somebody was, what, you want me to kick it?
Like another day in the office?
Yeah. Oh, exactly, Joe. It was like, you picked the wrong guy. Okay, I'll aim it for the net and see if it goes in.
So here we go. With Max Ron, he's going to get a signal from the official. Official is making sure that the box is clear. It's a one-on-one with Simonton. Simonton trying to keep a shutout. It would be his first of the season. Ron going to kick it right-footed. Nonchalant approaches and gets it to go. Ron with no celebration. Fullerton College wants the opportunity to get the ball back because they want to push for a win. But if you're Fullerton College, you get the draw, which is huge. We switch it back over to Mark. Mark, you saw almost this exact same penalty approach last week against Cyprus.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. And you know what? If you're Fullerton, why don't you forego the first 80 minutes of the game and just say, hey, we'll just wait till now to start playing?
So
Chance coming up from the Fullerton College sideline. 2 minutes go on the clock, which means that we are going to enter stoppage or additional time. A huge momentum shift from both these two teams as within 2 minutes of each other. They get a goal from Luke Newman to make it his 5th of the season and his 15th point, his first conversion from the penalty spot. And then just under 2 minutes later, Fullerton College gets his second from Max Ron. Here's a chance inside the box, deflected away. Newman trying to get to it before it reaches the sideline, and Fullerton College is going to pick it up. Nope, they're going to say that it is IVC's ball. A throw-in coming up, and just going back to last year, guys, 3-3 matchup between these two sides. It was IVC who got a late equalizer that really just kind of deflated Fullerton College, and now you're switching it to the other side. Fullerton has an excellent chance here to go into the end of this one with a draw after a late equalizer themselves. Luke Newman, left-hand side. He's going to approach and toss it in. You have your leading goal scorer for IVC as the one who will be throwing it in. Everyone moving around inside the box. 4 different players make it 5 for the Lasers. Inside, we'll say 10 to 15 yards of the goal. Here's Newman. Takes his strides, pops it into the air. It's inside the box, kicked away, off the header, and Fullerton College is looking to run. Fullerton with a chance to get it up to Ariel, and Ariel is going to see this one go over towards the far sideline. Fullerton still with a chance. The Hornets trying to toss this one in quickly. They come back for it. No offsides. Here's a shot and a goal!
that's what I've been saying all night, Ryan. They need to take those shots. You never know when one's going to find the back of the net like it just did now, and it helps keep the other team's opponent, like you said, respecting the threat of the attack.
And the way that this game plays out, you play the game the way that you wish to, you play it right, and who scores it? The man who gave up the penalty. It is Areola who gets the goal from outside the box, 5 yards out, and Mark Ari, he lasers that one in near side post to his perspective, and Fullerton College takes a 2-1 advantage.
How much magic, guys, have we seen this season late in the game for this Hornet team? I mean, they're just magical in the last 3 minutes of a game.
He definitely made up for that penalty right there, and honestly, that goalie had no chance at stopping that. That was an absolute laser to the bottom corner. There was, even if he got a hand on it, that was probably still going in.
IVC, what can only be described with as a full court press, as they ran their goalie all the way up to the midfield.
Newman and IVC currently, we'll say, displeased with one another as they had a miscommunication on what was about to happen. Everyone thought that they were going to move up the park with the ball. Instead, Fullerton gets the game winner with 2 seconds left. I will go back to what you were talking about, Mark, before we get on out of here. How many times have we seen this late magic from this team? more times than we can count, not just in the goal side of things, but in the run of play. How do they change their momentum? And it starts off, and I'll switch it all the way back to that back four that Mark likes to talk about and that you like to talk about, Joe. Back line shuts down a deep throw-in. All they need is one guy to get the ball up, and all of a sudden you're off to the races.
Yeah, magical, magical. Give a great deal of credit to Greg and Kenny because you never see them in the sidelines pouting or feeling bad for themselves. And if you start with the coaches to keep their heads up, it rolls down to the team and guys. We saw it once again.
It was a heck of a finish. I know at the halftime we were calling it a snoozer, a slow start, a gentleman's league game. I can't speak. And the last 5, 10, 15 minutes, it was something else over here.
We really thought that IVC was going to take over the game. Once they scored that goal, everyone was saying that was the momentum changer. But Fullerton was really able to take what you said about the coaches. They were able to keep their heads in the game. They stayed level-headed. They weren't making any dumb plays. They weren't putting their feet into tackles they shouldn't. They were playing smart as if the game was still 0-0 and they had everything to play for. They came back with 2 late goals, and they took the win.
So Fullerton College gets a handball inside the box. It starts off actually with a handball on their own side. Andrew Areola with the ball going off his arm for a penalty kick to IVC. They take the lead thanks to a Luke Newman penalty marker conversion. Fullerton on the other side sees a goal thanks to a penalty kick, which was a result of a handball on IVC's side. Both teams conceding penalties, and just about 90 seconds later, the counterattack is lethal for Fullerton College. A last-second winner for Andrew Areola, and he gives Fullerton College the win in this one. That's going to do it for us here tonight. We want to thank Becky Nguyen, Sam Cecina, in addition to Mark Pavlovich, our sideline guy here tonight, Ari Nakshon, Joseph Pavlenko, and Corey Nalen as well. I am Ryan Osborne, thanking you for joining us. Our final score, Fullerton College with the late win, 2-1 over top of Irvine Valley. You have been watching Futbol Fridays on Hornet Radio.